The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today's podcast, and actually the next 12, I'm going to be going over each of the topics that I cover in my coaching course. My idea with this is that I can help the most people possible, and you can get a sampling of exactly what I teach in my course. So I hope that you enjoy these next 12 podcasts because they're really for you. My idea with creating these tools was that, there's only one of me, and these are the tools that I use with myself and with my clients. So if I can record it, if I can get it on video, if I can find a way to share it with people, then they can use these tools to find greater peace in their lives, solve deep mysteries within themselves, and connect to themselves and their community. So I hope that you enjoy, and let me know if you have any feedback. You can email me, Erin at erincoach.com, and enjoy. Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I'm coming at you and continuing the podcast series that I'm doing that follows along some of the course workbooks that we do in my coaching course, which, by the way, we have spots for August. It's going to be August 20th to the 28th. If you're thinking about it, you can reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com, or you can check out my new website, which is thrivewitherin.com. And if you're listening to this on podcasts, on iTunes or Spotify, I just gave you some finger guns, which is the most effective mudra. So I want to catch you guys up a little bit. I did on my last podcast, but just for those who maybe just follow me on social media, this has been a really rough past few weeks for me. I've been dealing with what I think was heavy metal toxicity or heavy metals poisoning. I got a huge tattoo on my left arm, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And but after that happened, I want to tell you a little bit about what I experienced. So just in case you're experiencing something similar, that you would know, maybe what's going on. So, got some ink, 6 hours of ink on my left shoulder. And afterwards, my left eye started twitching uncontrollably for probably about a month afterwards, almost. It was almost a month. It just stopped 2 days ago. My left breast became swollen about a cup size bigger than the other. Which some women, that's how they are, but mine have been very even my whole life. So that was just right afterwards. I started getting abdominal cramping. Oh, let's see what else. My sleep became disrupted, which I worked very hard to regulate my sleep. And I started having panic attacks, which I don't have experience with, except for now I do, and they fucking suck. So I have treated quite a few people who have had panic attacks. The only time I've really had a panic attack is when I was 19 and I ate a pot brownie and I threw up everywhere and had my head in the freezer, just to cool me down. And so anyways, so I had been dealing with that, and it was odd for me because I came back from my silent retreat and I am usually super blissful, and I was just immediately having my heart racing and just kind of not myself for a few weeks. I can tell you that my yogic practices saved me. Of course, they always do. And sometimes life is imperfect and you can get, It's not confirmed heavy metal poisoning. Oh, there was one more symptom that I had, which would make me think again that it's heavy metal poisoning, which was an aluminum taste in my mouth, or like a metallic-y taste in my mouth. So I had about 4 or 5 different symptoms that might correlate to this. And again, all of this started right after I got the tattoo. So anyways, if you have gotten some ink and then you have felt some of these things, or if you're considering getting a tattoo, I still love my tattoo. I think it's amazing. But I think I'm a huge fan of informed choices. And so that's why when things are censored, I get pissed, right? Because I believe in the intelligence of people with objective information to be able to come to their own conclusions. When that is taken or hidden, or you're not able to make an informed choice. Now, again, there's, people that don't do certain research, and, then they don't make an informed choice because, well, they didn't do their homework. There's that. But then there's, this information is not available to make an informed choice. That's what I have a problem with. So, you may not have heard of something like this. I had heard about it in one of my holistic healing groups. I used to have amalgams. In fact, I have a podcast about the before and after when I got my amalgams, the mercury fillings removed from my from my mouth. And, that being said, I was probably more susceptible to some sort of heavy metal toxicity poisoning because I had like a mouthful of mercury. And that was probably stored in my tissues because I didn't do a full heavy metals clearing. So anyways, getting a little bit too into holistic medicine. I don't want to lose everybody, but it is something I love to nerd out about. I am a Goyecha cell response therapy practitioner. So I talk about natural medicine here on my podcast. And if you're listening to this on social media, hopefully it's not censored. I have been shadow banned a lot lately. I think that started right after I released my podcast on SSRIs, which again, it's information, make an informed choice, right? So yeah, anyways, let me catch you up now on the course. And I've done, I believe, 3 or 4 podcasts now, just following along the coursework that I present. So this podcast today is about navigating belief systems. So navigating belief systems is some of the most important work you will ever do. This is something that we can access belief systems through asana, right? Through twisting and breathing and folding and bending, right? And belief systems, when they're already embodied, feel like sensation and vibration, right? So you can bring yourself into a meditative state, which is what I'm going to talk about, and be able to access this information beyond the feeling of vibration and actually get your mind on board as far as logically knowing what belief systems are causing what. So that is a hop, skip, and a big jump away from just why am I crying in pigeon? Right? In pigeon pose, why when I open up my heart, I feel this heat flush down my body, right? So they would say in a Vipassana practice that this is something just to observe, don't analyze it, right? And I say, if you've been living with belief systems that are running your life from the background, I find that, there's certain things that you need to feel, but it doesn't make them go away all at once. What I find I need to do is, sit with, feel, reveal what is true inside of you. And then once you do that, get it down on paper, write it down, and look at what is inside of you and reflect, do some introspection. I believe this is called vitarka in Sanskrit. Do some introspection and sort of reasoning out how this affects other areas of your life, right? So when I go through a coaching session with people, many times we'll sort of dig, and then we come to a belief system. So some common ones are I'm not good enough. The work that I do is not good enough. I'm not worthy of XYZ. I'm not deserving of XYZ. And I ask my clients, where else do you see this in your life? Okay. And I want you to imagine that when you uncovered that belief system, imagine that you have a flashlight. Okay. And then there's little breadcrumb trails from that belief system, right? So imagine that we have like a piece of cake, big piece of cake. And you see breadcrumbs around. You're like, well, where does this trail lead? Like, how does this connect? And you kind of shine the flashlight and you see, oh, this not deserving feeling connects to my relationships. And oh my God, that behavior of where I sabotage and throw my whole relationship away over a simple argument. Maybe that's connected. In fact, I can see the breadcrumb trail, right? Or, oh gosh, like when I am put on the spot to perform a music piece in front of people, I choke and I stumble almost every time. Oh, I can see how this is connected. So belief systems, it is important to illuminate not just what the belief system is, but to illuminate how it connects into the rest of your life. And again, with the flashlight analogy, you're like shining light and you're like, oh, I get it now. So it's not just living and breathing inside of you, unacknowledged, unacknowledged. I can think of another unword. So it's not just living and you unacknowledge, it is, you become aware of it and you see and trace the patterns so that when you do that, you're able to rectify it. You're able to modify it. And so belief systems, I like to say, are like the great Oz behind the curtain, and I'm maybe aging myself here with like the Wizard of Oz, like the great Oz behind the curtain that sort of runs the show. Because your conscious mind, like we can be conscious throughout the day, like a good percentage. And I remember working with one particular client and I asked them like, what percentage of your life are you on autopilot? And originally they came back to me, they're like 90% I'm conscious and only 10% I'm on autopilot. And I was kind of like, all right, I want you to give it another week. And then they came back to me and they're like, yeah, flip it and reverse it and probably even less. We are on autopilot like over 90% of our lives. And even when we do like meditative practices and yoga and things that really bring us into a present state of mind, is probably like a little bit better than that. I would say if you meditate, and this is speculation, my opinion, this is not a statistical data, but in my own life, I would say that without meditation and yoga, I'm probably about 97% on autopilot. That's just the function of the, like my primal needs come up, these impulses, and if they are undirected, like if I'm not directing my mind, that's about how much percentage I would be present. And when I was present only 3% of my waking life, I got into some shit. And I have a whole book about it called Thriving After Addiction. Doing my meditative practices, doing my pranayama, doing my asana, taking walks in nature, things like that. I would say on a good day, I'm probably just 85% on autopilot, about 15% present. And then on a really good day, like when I do my silent retreats, it's probably about like half and half, which is really hard work. And it's hard to sustain, but it gets easier. So safe to say that it's really important to make friends with and understand the Oz behind the curtain and what really drives your actions. So part of understanding belief systems is breaking it down, because a lot of times in our memory, which we call smriti in Sanskrit, is this sort of built-in mechanism in your nervous system, right, which causes you to perform an action, right? So there's a stimulus, and then there's a thought, and then there is a feeling. Now, I'm going to say this. If you already have a built-in sort of like, let's say, sand pile on like in the bottom of your body, right, the bottom of your nervous system, and here comes this trigger, it almost seems like it bypasses the thought, right, because it happens so quickly. And there's certainly energetic pathways that sort of like down into the feeling, and then that causes you to react much more quickly, right? But being able to access this sort of sand pile on the inside, we will be able to regulate our response to it, right? And how do we do this? By slowing down and working with the nervous system and uncovering these beliefs that we have. So, one tool that I use in navigating belief systems is first to separate out the facts. What is your thoughts, maybe even your belief systems, you're aware of some of them, and what are the facts? Okay, so facts are objective, very scientific, data, right? Untampered with, and, can be proven in a court of law, right? So typically, these facts don't have a lot of adjectives or adverbs. It's more just kind of neutral. You would look at it and it wouldn't really create too much of a rise in you necessarily. And a lot of times when people separate out the facts from their thoughts, it's like popping their balloon, because you're like, oh, I guess she didn't really do it that way. It's just my thoughts and my past experiences that projected that, which can sting, but then you have more power in your life. So, separating out the facts and your opinions from a particular situation, and, past experience is gold as far as finding these belief systems, because we have the whole pattern here. We have, okay, a past experience happened, not just hypothetical, oh, I think I have this belief system. No, it's real life application. So my mother said, those pants look really tight on you, or something like that. And then, right, so that's a neutral statement. So my mother said that those pants look really tight. And then the thought that you might have that eventually becomes a belief system would be something like, oh my God, I'm such a fat ass, something like that. And then underneath that, you would see her behavior change towards you, right? And then thought after thought after thought, the belief system underneath there might be, when I am bigger, I am unlovable, something like that. Or if my clothes don't fit, I am rejected from my mother, from the love of my mother. Hopefully that makes sense. That's just one example. So all that would create a feeling within of feeling rejected, and more accurately, shame. Okay. So all of that happened from a choice of thought, because your brain likes to solve a problem. And so when a circumstance happens and then, behavior towards you changes, that is not exactly in a loving way. So if, and you can flip this on the other side of its head, say, and I've experienced this too, it's you lose 10, 15 pounds, probably from 4 years ago, I'm maybe about 15, 20 pounds lighter than I was. My face is less puffy because of the formulas and just life choices, and, just tune into my body signals a little bit more. And I have people, sometimes that look me up and down and they're like, wow, you've really transformed. I can tell, because you look really good. And I want to take that as a compliment, but when they're looking me up and down and having me spin and looking at my ass and stuff, and connecting that to, oh, you're so successful. How do I know? Well, because your ass is smaller. Not super great. And as far as triggering belief systems, oh, this just confirms that I am most lovable if my body is a certain shape, right? Which is not super great, because our bodies are impermanent, right? These don't last forever. And if your value and your worth is tied to the size of your pants, you're going to have a rough go, especially if I want to have a child someday, my whole body's going to transform and change, right? So I try not to take that too personally, because that's, people are just trying to pay a compliment. So belief systems, separating out the facts from the opinions or judgments that we have, which are your thoughts, right? And belief systems, we know, are just well-practiced thoughts over and over again. Now, the part where you actually access, I opened up my mouth so wide to say the access. If only you guys could see the video on social media. Actually, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not on social media, you can follow me, Thrive with Erin, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagrams. I'm shadow banned a lot of the time because I'm speaking much more truth lately, and the censorship is ridiculous. But certainly you can follow me or add me as a friend. I will add you back, and shoot me a message and say, hey, listen to your podcast. I'll add you. Okay, so actually activating and releasing some of these belief systems from your nervous system requires a more meditative state. So to access your belief systems, you want to take a comfortable seat. You want to Breathe in and out through your nose. Ujjayi. I talk about it on almost every podcast. It's vibrational, breath with sound, oceany breath, sounds like this. I find that when your exhale is a little bit longer than your inhale, and then you have a pause at the top and the bottom, that is like magic to chill you out. I do that at the end of the night. It's part of my sadhana, my regular spiritual discipline that I'm doing now, especially since I came from the Art of Living Retreat Center. So use that breath, and you can set a timer, maybe do this for 5 minutes. Okay, so you do that for 5 minutes and then start to feel. Notice in your body where you're clenching. Maybe it's around your belly. Maybe it's around your shoulders, your forehead. Maybe it's right around your tailbone. Wherever it is, hang out there and breathe. And try to soften the outer edges of what you're feeling there. If you can name the feeling, great. Shame, hesitancy, caution, fear, joy. Maybe you have like a laugh in there. Just stay with it. Try not to judge it or make it mean anything that it's not. Make assumptions about it. And then just like imagine spreading it. Imagine spreading it really thin within your entire body. And so it becomes much more palatable. Right, so you're able to kind of work through it. It's not quite as intimidating. It's like the game of Risk. You know, the great secret to that game is keeping your not spreading out too thin and not trying to want for too much, because then the armies get. So when you're concentrated, then like you're stuck and nobody can get to you, right? So we want to apply that here. We want to spread it out thin so that we can sort of take out these feelings and process them. So once you spread it thin through your entire body, you can use an imagery. Sometimes I like to imagine a screen door opening and closing. I walk into a deeper aspect of myself. Sometimes I imagine like a waterfall just sprinkling down and like just walking through that. Sometimes turning the page of a book within myself. And then we see what is on the other side of that feeling. What is on the other side of it? And it might be another feeling that's unpleasant. It might be sadness. It might be apathy. It might be, grief. Whatever it is, we try not to judge it, because that is a deeper part of the sandbank. When you start judging it, you're going to pull yourself out of this experience. And so, good to know that I am releasing a course on Insight Timer soon that's going to take you through this whole process. But I wanted to share with you the tools of how you can do it on your own. So you can find a comfortable seat, breathe, acknowledge how you're feeling, and then once you do that, try to spread it thin through your entire body. Also listing out the facts and then your opinions about a particular circumstance and if you're like, well, I'm not sure what circumstance. If I were to ask you, like, what are the 3 most memorable things that have happened to you, but like in a kind of negative sense, like that's going to give you some information to where you can, work with. And even if you don't remember all the details, sometimes people kind of like block these childhood memories. If you breathe and you drop into your body, I can tell you that a lot of times it's stored in your body. And in fact, you probably won't be able to access it fully until you drop in and become present. Because your nervous system is holding on to it. So if you don't work with your nervous system to chill it out, to process so that everything can release, then it's going to be stuck inside of you and it's going to be running the show. Again, the great Oz behind the curtain. And I have found that my great Oz doesn't make the best decisions. Like sometimes it does. I have some great belief systems, like about being a hard worker and being ambitious and, my mom implanted one about be a star. So I always know that I can be a star. So I have some really good ones. Everybody does, even if it just seems like there's only a few. But certainly there is some cleanup to be had in everyone. So it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this work, you can always go in a little bit deeper and get to know yourself. So, and that's the beauty of this type of practice, is you get to connect with yourself on a cellular, on a spiritual level. And when you do that, it feels like home, like it makes life worthwhile, like you find your true purpose, like all the answers are within. And that's why on this podcast, I've been doing this podcast for like 6 years. And that's, pretty much like, if you did quotable quotes, like that's one of the quotes I always like kind of try to bring home, is the journey is within. So I am here as a guide to kind of channel information, work, as far as how to get you there a little bit quicker and smoother, right? So I think that's all I have for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this little update and podcast. I will be releasing a course on Insight Timer. Matt and I are working on my new book. It's more than halfway done. We're hoping to release by April. It's like right around the corner. I have a yoga teacher training coming up in February. If you're interested in that and you're local, email me, Erin at erincoach.com. You can also go to thrivewitherin.com and you can fill out a little intake form. If you want to do personal coaching with me, I have a few spots open right now, probably about 2. I don't want to take too many more people. I don't overbook myself with clients because I got a lot going on, with my trainings and certifications. So I work with people who are committed, who will do the work, because at this point in my career, I can be picky, to be honest. And, I can take you there if you want to go there, and I will show you the tools and give you accountability. So I think that is it. All right. I hope that you have a fantastic week. Thanks for listening, and finger guns to go, and I'll see you soon. Namaste. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me, as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning, and not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.